Hi there, my name is Emily Avon Green, and I'm a therapist for moms. So I support moms who feel burnt out, overwhelmed, who feel like they might be a bad mom, who often feel like they're not good enough. These are also moms who, in the past, really did struggle with anxiety or social issues, or right now they're just struggling with the fact that they can't keep up with societal expectations, and maybe they don't want to. So that is who I work with. And I want to tell you why I work with moms because I think it's really important to talk about. So I'm coming at you with a phone video in my basement office because I just had this thought on the fly and I wanted to capture my thought process. So when I tell individuals that I work with moms, I usually have two different reactions. So if they are themselves a mom or they are someone who works with moms, like maybe uh, early learning centers or stuff like that, they get it. They're like, totally needed, love it, mwah, 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 awesome. Moms need extra, specialized support. They get it. Now, when I tell people who are not moms or who do not typically work with moms, they ask me why. Like, why do you work with moms? Why is that your specialization? Why moms? Why not parents? Like, why specifically moms? And so the overarching answer that I want to give, that's very short and concise, is that when moms prioritize themselves, then they are better able to care for their family and their loved ones. And to put a bit more more meat to it, when moms care for themselves in terms of their mental health, their physical health, they prioritize their relationship to their self. They prioritize their relationships outside of the home with their family, without regardless of their family, but with their friends. They thrive, and then they have better capacity and the ability to care for their family, to be present in their relationship with their partner and to connect with their children. Because what happens is when mothers do not prioritize themselves, they get quickly dysregulated. They don't have emotional regulation capacity. So when their children are emotionally dysregulated, they are also unable to support them in that. And that might lead to overstimulation, being touched out, and just really being at capacity. And when you care for yourself and you take care of yourself, whether you're a mom or not, um, when you prioritize your rest and all that, you just have better capacity to handle difficult times. You have better skills for communication and you can build better and stronger bonds with others. Um, so that is why I work with moms. Now, I specialize specifically with moms because the experience of being a mom is completely different to that of being a father. And I'm sorry to like gender it right now, but for today's discussion, it's just easier if I just gender mom versus a father. Now, fathers are amazing. My husband is an amazing father, and he has his own struggles being a father. And would I love for another therapist out there to offer support just to fathers? Hell yeah, that'd be freaking amazing. I'm not that person because my lived experience at this point is I'm a mom. I'm a mom. I have an almost 3 year old. She's upstairs right now fighting her bedtime. I can hear her. You might even hear her over the mic. We'll find out. But I have that lived experience. So I can well, not kind of, I know where people are coming from um, because I've lived it and I am living it. I'm living all of these difficult parts of motherhood. And the reason why I know that moms prioritize themselves to care for their children is because I've seen it. Prior to having my own private practice, I worked for an agency that supported children, teenagers, and families. And what I found was oftentimes the clients who are presented as like the client is the child or the client is the teenager, um, they were not in my head the true client. They were the identified client. They were often like the scapegoat. So, what I found was that there was an issue within the family dynamic, and we placed the blame or we placed the problem on the child. and the child needs to be fixed. Um, but when I was first starting out, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, whatever. And I would just do the work with the kid. And what that meant, or what that looked like, was I would work with the child. And yeah, they've got some stuff to work on. I think we all have stuff to work on, but I work with the child or the teenager, and they'd go back home. But because the home was had caregivers who were not emotionally regulated, everything would get dismantled every single time. And it would be like always just restarting the whole same problem. And what I found as I got more confident as a therapist and working in that environment, I would make parents actually participate as well. And what I found was that when the parents participated and that they worked on their own personal issues, because sometimes having a child will trigger past wounds and will show you just how much you are not a regulated person. Um, Especially if you're a millennial, our parents were not regulated, and we were told to not cry. Don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. Um, so then when we become parents ourselves, we don't know how to regulate our emotions, and so how the heck are we supposed to regulate our child's emotions? And so when I would work with the parents, and the parents were willing, right? You have to be willing to work on yourself. Then the environment improved, and the child didn't actually need services once the environment improved and the dynamic between the family improved. So that was my first hint that we're identifying children as the problem, but there's other stuff going on. Now, does it mean that children don't need therapy? Hell no. How I view it and what I do with my clients when they come and see me, let's say, for like, I think I need therapy. I think maybe my children need therapy. What I always do is I try and see how much of it is specific to the child and how much of it is specific to the environment. And what I often suggest to my clients is, let's see if we can change things within you, change things within the environment, and then we'll assess. And sometimes just making a change with the mother or with the parents is enough that the child won't need therapy. And I saw that recently where it's like the children's situations were improving just by virtue of the mother seeking services. Not that the mother was doing anything particularly wrong, but just making slight changes and adjustments and actually caring for yourself just meant that she had better capacity to support her children. Um, and you might make changes in the environment and your child is still struggling. And then, yeah, I've got amazing resources of therapists who work with children that I love to refer clients to because they're awesome. And sometimes children do need therapy. So I'm not against therapy for children. I just think that it's important to see what the issue is. Um, and so working with moms came kind of naturally with me. Like it wasn't like I was okay, I'm going to work with moms. Like I didn't leave that environment with the children and go into private practice and be like, "Oh, I work with moms." At first I was like, I'm going to do anxiety work. I'm going to do social anxiety because those are just like things that I was good at. Self-worth, anxiety, those were like my specialization. And what I found though is that the clients that really spoke to me, that really lit me up, were moms who wanted better communication and connection with their family, like their children and their husband or partner, and also wanted to prioritize themselves. Like that stuff lit me up. And the more I worked with these clients and the more I read up on stuff regarding moms, the more I specialized myself in this because it was just a natural interest, the more I saw, like, the experience of being a mom is freaking hard. Okay. Like, of course, obviously, if you have a child, from your own womb. You have all those hormones, you have the postpartum, you have all that, but also just the experience and the identity. And the reason why I gendered it a bit, it's not just that it's how we view moms. If you see yourself as a mother and the world sees you as a mother, you are treated so much differently than how fathers or other caregivers are treated. It is extremely difficult being a mom, especially in this day and age. We have like these long held beliefs that moms just have to do it all, have the aesthetic home, have the amazing food, um, and take care of the children and be in jeans and a bra all day long at the house and just get everything done while now, also holding down a job, usually a full-time job, and you have to do this all flawlessly. And you have to do this to the detriment of yourself. You get a badge of honor for burnout, basically. You get a badge of honor for overcommitment. You just, the expectations are crushing and they're not feasible and they're not real. And then societal, like social media stuff is makes moms feel like they have to reach this certain way of being, that's very like a Pinterest mom. And so it's very easy to just feel horrible when you don't do your dishes or your laundry is backed up by maybe a couple weeks. When you don't have the capacity to deal with the things going on with your children. And what happens with moms is we begin to feel stuck. We begin to feel horrible. We begin to feel like no amount of sleep is enough. We feel like we are just horrible moms. Our children would be better off with other moms, that we should have never become parents, that we fear that our partners are going to resent us. We struggle with, sitting on the fence of trying to be all in at home and all in at work, and you can't be all in on both areas. And then when we want to take care of ourselves because we're told that self-care is extremely important, that we should have hobbies and that and this, that, and the other, then we feel guilt. We feel guilt for doing that. We feel guilt for having a girls' night. We feel guilt for wanting to be away from our kids. You know how many times my clients tell me that they feel guilt for just not wanting to be a mom for a day, for just wanting to be alone? But that's completely and utterly natural. You are not you and your child are not connected at the hip. You are allowed to be your own person without your partner, without your children. Um, but just the fact that they don't feel like they can't is enough to tell me that like the experience of being a mom is extremely different than that of being a father. Because, we've normalized this idea that the father, can be gone, goes to get beers, goes fishing, goes golfing, um, goes hunting, that's like normalized. And yet with mom, sometimes we feel bad for just wanting to go to like the grocery store by ourselves. Like that is an outing. How sad is that going out to the grocery store can become an outing for us, because it limits the guilt enough that you're getting stuff for the house, even though you're doing it without your kids. Um, and and so we don't think that we have a right to set boundaries. We don't think that we have a right to speak up for ourselves. And we just don't think we have a right to not like being a mom sometimes. I'm sorry, but sometimes we do not like being moms, and that's okay. Even if you wanted your whole life to be a mom, you struggled with conceiving, you prayed for that child. It is okay that some days you don't like being a mom and you wish you could run away. Like, I get it. But the fact that we feel so much guilt and shame because of that tells me that we need specialized services, because it's not okay. And the fact is that, like, it's not just internal messaging, which it totally is. We have all that internal messaging, especially from growing up. But this started before you became a mother. This started when you were a child, when you were, brought into this world and told, hey, you're a female. Like, your sex is female. As soon as that happened, the way that the society treated you was different. The way that you were brought up was different. The way that you were told to parent and that you observed parenting was different. And so I can't expect you to go to general therapy for anxiety when you are living such a different existence just by virtue of being a mother. Um, and that really struck home with me, because like personally, like I had extremely bad, well, my pregnancy was very difficult, and I had extremely bad postpartum depression and anxiety. Like for the first month or two, I didn't even feel connected to my child. I didn't feel connected to her at all. Because of my postpartum depression and anxiety, I was like, I can't be a mom. I wanted to just throw myself in the snow and die. Um, and that you hear that and you're like, that's so sad. Like, you need support. And what I thought was, I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible mother. Shame on me. I wanted this child so much. And now I'm like telling myself, I wish I never did it. And I'm lucky that my husband's extremely supportive and listening. And he's like, no, no, we're going to go get you to the doctor because something's going on. But it's so easy. And I've talked to so many women who are like, I asked them, like, especially when I do my intakes, I'm like, did you have postpartum depression or anxiety after giving birth? And they're like, I don't know. And they'll just describe it to me, but they're like, I didn't seek support because I thought this was just normal. And at this point, it's like, I don't know what was normal or not because it's gone now. They don't, especially if it's been like a lot of years since it, they don't remember all the details. But like, how sad is it that you could be at the worst in your life, like I was? Like, I'd never felt that way before. And you could think that this is normal, that that's just what being a mom is. Like that's horrible. And that was during postpartum, right? Like, and like where our emotions are extremely high, you know, because all of the newborn stage was extremely debilitating, especially with the lack of sleep. Um, and we put ourselves to the side to care for a tiny being who can't care for themselves. Um, but then like you don't know how to deal with this tiny being because you don't even know how to manage to get up in the morning. And what happens often is like your child can be 13 years old now, but because you've lived so many different difficult experiences where they weren't dealt with, you're carrying that with you. That difficulty, that often trauma, that undealt with like circumstances. And it's like you never got a break to tell yourself like, this is not okay. This is not normal. This is not motherhood. That's the big thing for me. Like feeling like you're going to die, feeling so depleted that you can barely get up, feeling like you can't even connect with your children because you have nothing left to give. We're told that's normal. It's not. That is not motherhood. So for me, working with these clients that are moms, one is because I feel so much of what they're going through and I can relate and I feel like I have that like that ability to support them. And I know I can, and I know it helps the whole family when I do so. Um, but also, I hope that little by little, by helping these mothers, we can slowly change the way society views motherhood. This is why I make my videos that I make. Um, this is why I'm going to be speaking more about slow motherhood, which is the path that I take, where it's really let's put moms first so that they can put their families above societal expectations, right? Motherhood should be enjoyed. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's your child's childhood, but it's your motherhood and you deserve to enjoy it. And so, yeah, I specialize with moms. That's my specialty, working with moms. It's amazing. Moms, you know, we say moms are so strong, they're super women. I wish they didn't have to be, but they are. They are super women. They are incredible. The moms that I work with are the ones who they want to help themselves, they want to help their families. And oftentimes they want to stop these generational cycles from continuing. They want to have a different motherhood and they want their children to have a different experience of them. They want their children to remember them as being happy, as being present, as enjoying their time with them, as thriving, not just surviving. And so, yeah, that's why I work with moms. Anyway, I'm going to head off now. But if ever you are a mom who would like services, if this video is speaking to you, I am accepting clients. I work with clients in Ontario and Quebec. So there's information in the description below for how to work with me. Otherwise, check out my videos if they speak with you, and I'll have a book coming out soon about slow motherhood. Um, but anyway, let's create like some shit disturbing moms out there and say, let's do it differently. Let's view motherhood differently. Yeah. All right. Keep living your authentic life. Bye.